Hello, good morning. How are you? Are you surviving the climate? You know, it's a heck of a heat dome that sat over us the last few days. It's going to push off east into Minnesota and the Midwest, I guess, and the northern Midwest part, like Michigan and Illinois and the New England states. I hear there are potential tornadoes this weekend for them, which I don't think is normal. Do people normally get tornadoes in Connecticut? Or Pennsylvania, whatever the New England states are. Yeah, there's flooding in Texas. I have a friend in Texas, so I think my friend is okay though. In an area that is okay, but just know I'm thinking about you and everybody else here on my channel that follows me. You're on my mind. I'm worried about the heat for you. You know, we have air. We have central air. I think they passed a law ages ago. Dealerships that would sell mobile homes would sell them with the AC unit separate. So you could just buy the house and then figure it out later. But that's dangerous to live in a trailer house without AC when the temps reach 100 degrees, you know? So by the time we bought ours, it came with it, you know? So in the early aughts, right about there. What else did I want to talk about? The weather. The weather, man. There's a county north of me. It was on our local news feed last night. No, the night before, sorry. The county north of us just approved its third data center. There may be a couple hundred people that live in the entire county. So it isn't like there's this big jobs boom happening in this little rural Podunk County. This county, though, happens to be just a bit south of Lake Sakakawea, which is a great big huge water reservoir off the Missouri River. You know the thing is, if you're unfamiliar with the dams and the river systems, especially in the Midwest and the Great Plains area, back in the 50s, there were entire native communities that were flooded. There's a little bitty town that used to be a thing called Elbow Woods. It's now, underneath the lake. It's gone. They forced those people to move. It was a thriving community, right? I don't think, like in hindsight, they could have built dams, below the town, or, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they actually had to do what they did, but it was an expedient way to remove people, to wipe out their communities, thriving communities in very rich farmland, and it was flooded. And so now, they're going to put in a data center and suck up all that water so we can have devastation upon more devastation. That's the legacy of all that. That's tough. It's more than tough. I apologize. I'm understating my feelings about it. You know what I mean? It makes me angry. Someone told me, because it happened up and down the river. It wasn't just Elbow Woods that was lost. There were communities in Nebraska, South Dakota. Okay. The memory, I spoke to someone who was alive then. They were sharing a story with me. They said the women were were on the bluffs crying like a song, but a cry, but a weeping song that you could hear all across the prairie, I guess. Wailing, you know, just, what do we call that? Grief, you know. I don't know. Business and industry does not care about us at all, the people. And the ones who have no voice, no power, the ones that have been scapegoated in the media and the press, made the easy demon that we need to eradicate for some reason. Yeah. That's not a fantastic legacy, I gotta be honest with you. That's a pretty shit legacy. I've been thinking about, I'm kind of late on the whole Maine candidate thing. I mean, I don't talk about it because, number one, I don't live in Maine. I can't vote for those people, so. But, you know, the left, I guess, the left of center is made up of so many different kinds of people with different kinds of opinions. And, you know, there's one in particular, there's some tankies that get more attention than they deserve, honestly. Considerably more attention than they deserve. Especially a couple of these content creators that come out here and talk about this, and they were defending the guy and saying that he should stay there. I'm surprised that they don't understand parallel systems and redundancy. Redundancy is a bit like gardening. I'll grow a dozen tomato plants, and if 4 fail, it doesn't matter because I have 8 more, right? You don't put all your eggs in one basket. There's a reason why. Because if an egg is rotten, you throw it out. You don't force people to eat it. I'm not eating that. But if we had a bunch of eggs all over the place and one's rotten, then it doesn't matter. Throw them out. You know, we have this terrible, terrible habit of hanging our hat on one dude, and it's always a dude, some savior, some, you know, with a cape or not, but it turns into this weird people worship. Like, no, we have to have this one guy or it's all going to fail. You know, way back in 2016, you know, I appreciate Bernie Sanders' policies. I really do. I really do. But it turns into a cult of personality, and I just can't get on board with that. It turns me off. So, you know, people have a shelf life too. And so if you have a movement or an idea or a movement, and you want that movement to live beyond the person, then it has to be about more than the person, right? Like, I don't want Susan Collins to be the senator out of Maine because her vote has done so much damage to the entire country. I'm living under a rule that she voted for. I don't live in Maine, right? Why should her voice have anything to do with me? But it does. It's very damaging. Yeah. Kind of like all those people who keep swearing up and down they didn't vote for this. You did, though. You did, though. And now, you know, data centers are going to run right over all of us. Anyway, where was I going with that? Yeah, just redundancy. We don't need a rotten egg. That's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Dumb. It's dumb. And it's a huge fucking turnoff. Like the tankies that are out there running their mouths saying that we should get behind this guy because because we don't want what he did to be happening to a whole country somewhere else. That doesn't make any kind of sense. I don't want predators in office. I think they've had their day, and it's time for a new fucking day. Throw it out, man. The egg's rotten. Throw it out. You're not gonna cook that up and eat that. Stop it. It's not helpful. At that point, they're just working real hard to keep the status quo, because that's inevitably what happens, right? The same people who came out against Kamala Harris. Well, here we are now. People who voted for Jill Stein, they had a protest vote. I've decided mostly, like, those people aren't worth the energy. What we need to do is go after folks who would sit on the sidelines and not vote at all. That's 50% of the population out here in the US total. You know, we don't even not even half of us are voting. And the local elections matter a lot, especially if you're having people on a county board that keeps approving data centers or human warehouses or, excuse me, tax breaks. So we all pay for the infrastructure for all this stuff to go up. But the actual business that's running the business doesn't have to pay for a dime, because all our taxes pay for that. They get subsidies, handouts, government contracts, the whole 9 yards. I want a government contract. Don't we all? Free healthcare until the day I die. Yeah, that'd be nice. Got a senator completely MIA, out of Kentucky. What power do, it's Kentucky is the one that has the power to do something about that, not the rest of us. So, how are you holding up? I don't want to come out here with a big depressing monologue, because we have to keep going. We have to keep going somehow. Keep going. We're almost to November. It's very important. People vote. Probably be a good idea if, we could reverse this roundup order. Jesus Christ. Like, we're all gonna... We're in dire straits, friends. For sure. And there is no escaping it. There's no escaping it. There's no, well, I live in a particular part of the country that isn't, no, you're gonna get hit, and it's gonna hurt. People talk about billionaires building bunkers. I'm pretty sure bunkers can flood under the ground. I mean, they could watertight, sure, but how many feet and how fast is that water moving? Is it gonna? If anybody knows anything about new construction, it probably won't hold up. How are things going with you in your world? Are your endeavors being fruitful? Are they paying off? I know I have a viewer who's fighting with her washer, and so I'm curious to know how all that turned out. A lot of gardeners, right? We cross paths, so it's nice to see what everybody's doing, and we're all fighting through just really severe weather, right? Like really severe. You've been thinking about the bees. Normally I have so many bees, like different kinds of bees, because of all the flowers and the stuff all around. We'll have bumblebees and carpenter bees, tons of carpenter bees. But there's a lot of wood, you know, wasps. I've seen this year maybe 6 bumblebees. I've seen a couple of honeybees. I haven't seen any carpenter bees. A couple of wasps have shown up to chew on the deck rails, and I imagine it's a couple different things, you know, like it's herbicide, pesticide, tilling, plowing, you know, mowing the lawn, and everybody's mowing everything down, and just, you know, development, I guess. But also this year, you know, we had such a mild late winter, things heated up. Like the stone fruit growers will know, right? Most of us, anybody who's gardening this year, farming or working with plants, the winter was so mild, but because we weren't actually out of the winter months, of course it froze again. And so I'm wondering if some of the bees didn't come out of early hibernation and then die off because of the cold. I don't know. I'm not a beekeeper, so. We're mostly out of the heat dome-ish. I mean, the high today is 97, which would be what, like 37 Celsius? I think yesterday it cracked 100 and I looked it up and it was about 38. So, but with the humidity, it's very sticky. It's not a dry heat around here. Our heat index is usually about 10 degrees warmer. So it was about 100, it felt like 100 and some, but it should push off. It should be, and it's gonna back down and we're gonna be in the upper 80s by next week, which is bearable, right? That's we're accustomed to that. That's normal. It should be. We're accustomed to high 90s. That's, you know, but when you have several days of over 100, that's not that normal, right? So, especially with rainfall being scant, more scant than it usually is. Where was I going with that? Oh, but it's gonna push east. And then, you know, way far east. So, those of you in the Michigan area, Great Lakes, I don't know, maybe that helps. Does that, the lake effect, have anything to do with cooling it off? I doubt it if the temps are gonna be that warm. It's hard on the human body, we're all in for it. Very worried for people. And there's not much that us plebs can do about it except organize and vote. Organize and vote, and use our money, you know, our pockets. You know, my whole life, so in terms of shopping habits, grocery shopping habits, I've not been a, you know, only buy organic person. I shop often enough at farmers markets. You know, years ago because it was quaint and fun, and now because I use it to supplement our cabinets, our pantry, our food stores a bit. Corn, we do a lot of cream corn, and we'll do, you know, 20 ears. I think we did 40 last year, but we end up giving so many away. We make cream corn and put it in we throw it in the freezer, in a freezer bag, and portion it out so each one packages a dinner, you know. And, you know, we ran out about March. We ate on that all winter. I think I'd like to do a whole bunch more this year if, you know, things are good. Anyway, back to the organic stuff. I've never really, you know, it's cost prohibitive, right? Like the stuff was always so much more expensive. And then you kind of come around to, I don't know, is it even real? Is it a gimmick? I mean, I've often bought a store brand label of stuff or like a generic brand instead of the prime label, you know, in terms of like cereal or soup, because 9 times out of 10 it's made from the same stuff anyway. They just spend less money on packaging and advertising, and that's what makes it cheaper. You know, I'm thinking about, like, I know Malt-O-Meal makes a bunch of cereals like Cocoa Puffs, but it's not, and it comes in a bag, and it's just exponentially cheaper. Anyway, so I would buy that kind, right, of food stuff. But the organic stuff just stayed away from, because, you know, and how sure can you be that there wasn't runoff or, you know, a farm next door that sprayed or used stuff or, you know, whatever. But I caught, there's a woman out here who's been digging into it because she had some herbicide spray. She normally feeds her family, homeschools her kids. You know, they have a particular lifestyle, and wanted to stay away from store-bought foods and all the pesticides and the herbicides in the food. And so she went about doing some real in-depth research and came away with tons of regulation that a certified label has to jump, you know, get through. All the regulation, all the hoops, all the, you know. So I feel like, no, I think I could trust that label. You know what I mean? Like I could, they're getting as close as they possibly can. You know what I mean? So, you know, my husband and I were talking about just in the last couple of weeks about lettuce and fruit because there's this explosive diarrhea outbreak. And okay, so can we eat vegetables or what? No, you know. Anyway, I said to him after watching her video, we should buy the organic instead. It's a gimmick. I said, no. I don't, no. It's safer. And the truth is, if all of us just stop buying the mass-produced shit, which I know is impossible because of the price, it would force them to change their practices. If we all said, I'm not buying anything that's been sprayed, you know, we'd strong arm it. But that's a tough one. That's a tough sell, especially when people are hungry, right? Like, you just need to eat it. It's very expensive. You know, I wanted to give up the cream of celery and mushroom soup. We use that a lot, especially in the winter, and like every hot dish ever, you know, created has got a can of cream of some kind of something in it. But because of the GMO, good God, do you know how hard it is to get away from that though? And like, you know, I'm like the rest of us. I'm willing to, like, it's a lot of faff. That's a lot of work to have to make your own cream of some kind of condensed something. It's work. It's a lot of work. And so how much can you know what I mean? Plus getting your hands on a bunch of mushrooms. I like cream of mushroom. I don't grow my own mushrooms. So anyway, I think we need to get back to like local, eat local, eat in season. We do it as much as we can, you know, mostly because it's money. Like we can't afford a cut up watermelon in the middle of February. That's usually the only kind you can find, right? Like you can't find a whole melon, but you can find like the grocer's plastic tray full of cut up fruit for about 40 bucks. Or you could just go buy a watermelon for $4 to $6 and cut it up yourself. And but so we just don't buy it, right? In the middle of winter. You can't. But I have to get more serious about all of it all the time. And, you know, if we're all branded zealots, then I guess we are. What do you do? I've always considered myself a pretty normal pedestrian, you know, just a regular Joe. Nothing out of the ordinary, not much different than the rest of the world, you know, than everybody else in the US anyway. Like my buying habits are more or less the same. At least they were. Probably not anymore because I don't really have buying habits anymore, right? Like I don't shop at all, so try to do it with what I have. And I have, oh my God, I have a spare room, right? And my treadmill's in there, and I have a sewing machine, and I have, oh Christ, you know, Christmas wrap that's in there, and there's a bookcase in there full of books, and paint, and some bric-a-brac, like here's a crafty thing that I thought I was going to do once, so it's just there. And then I never got around to it. So anyway, I've decided I want to burn up all the stupid shit in that room. I've got a bunch of fabric, and some paint. So I have a tote about this big full of like the tube craft paint for like painting a birdhouse or painting, you know, some kind of wood something, right? Like it's acrylic craft paint. And I've been watching these videos. They're kind of, well, they're relaxing, right? Acrylic painting for beginners. If you just put it in there, it'll come up. They put blobs of paint on the canvas, and then they take their brush, and the next thing you know, you're looking at Monet. Like, what? You had like 5 globs of color, and they're like, for beginners. I'm like, yeah, we'll see. So I drug some paint out, and I have like this. It's from a craft store. It's a board, a wood board, with kind of, I don't know if it's meant to mimic like a picket fence or a cutting board. It's in the shape of a cutting board. Anyway, I don't know why I have it. I couldn't even tell you anymore where I bought it, you know, if I've had it for so long. So I pulled it out and I was playing around with the paint. And then I found my mom, I think, bought my youngest an acrylic painting kit. It's just 6 tubes of paint. Is it 6? It's red, yellow, blue. There's a green in there and a black and a white. Yeah, 6. So like actual acrylic painter's paint, right? So that's been in there and it hasn't dried out, amazingly. Like that stuff must last a good long while. So I pulled that out. So I've been bored. I didn't know if it was going to go anywhere, so I didn't record it, but I might now because it's, oh, this is not that hard. That's kind of easy. Look at that. Just, I've made a thing. So I'm trying to burn through it. And in this heat, it gives me something to do. So I got to do something. I can't sit. It's very, you know, it's hard on my back too if I sit for too long. I can't do that. So I gotta move around. So I get stand at the lawn counter and paint. It's kind of helpful. Anyway, we're just all taking it day by day. There's no other way to take it, right? We only live in the now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. It doesn't exist. Not yet, anyway. Yeah, that's all I got. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying cool. And you're having at least a small victory now and again. I hope that's happening for you. You have a good day.